Hey guys, what is up? Inksmith back again, and I just wanted to say thank you first of all for a lot of the responses on my last video. I realized probably I got some people worked up, kind of angry on both the left and the right, but what I wanted from that video was a dialogue, and you guys gave it to me, and I appreciate that. Whether you agreed with me, disagreed with me, and if there was stuff that you wanted me to cover in future videos, I will. I'll speak more about this in the end, but for now, let's just jump into our video for the day, and that is talking about what is happening with this Adventures with Purpose channel. If you don't already know what Adventures with Purpose is, it's sometimes also called AWP, and it is pretty much a search and recovery channel that started out as mostly just a scuba diving channel, which I do tend to watch a lot of scuba diving channels. I've never scuba dived in my life, but for some reason, the idea of scuba diving and getting lost or running into trouble while scuba diving really fascinates me. I don't know why, but I've watched tons of like lost in a cave while scuba diving. So I have seen this channel before in the past. It's run by a full team, but the main leader of the team is Jared Leisek. I'm pronouncing that in the German pronunciation. I hope I'm correct in that. And recently a huge bomb has been dropped about what exactly this guy has done. He is about my same age, I think a little bit older than me. He's actually 46, if I'm correct. And he began this as a simple search and recovery team. They've been in the news before because they've been able to find missing people and their bodies when the police kind of just gave up, and they've done it in like a matter of minutes. There was one I remember in the news where the girl had been missing for almost 2 years, and they found her in 20 minutes when they simply dove into the place that the parents suggested that she might have driven her car. It was a sad tale, but nonetheless, they were able to give that family closure, which is a very beautiful thing. They could finally bury her daughter at last, and that's a wonderful thing to be able to see. But what is not so wonderful is what has come out recently. Now, one thing I want to state before I get into what exactly Jared Leisek has done, it appears that every single member has quit the team of AWP, and they were told somewhat of what he did, but apparently he had watered it down. And this is according to the actual victim herself, which she has not been named yet. She's not coming out with her name because she doesn't want to be harassed, and I'm sure you guys as my viewers will respect that. Her sister, I'm sorry, not her sister, the sister of Jared Leisek also has come out and supported the cousin who is putting the charges against Jared. And the team did not know exactly what Jared had done to his cousin in the past, and apparently he's done quite a bit. First of all, let's just start off with the fact that looking into Jared's past, he has been arrested and gotten in trouble with the law multiple times. This is a guy who came across as sort of a hero. Like, I thought it was pretty amazing how altruistic he was being, uses his time and his money to search for these missing bodies, but it appears to have all been an act to cover up a very shady past of assault, of carrying weapons, of attacking people, of not going to court when he was subpoenaed, all different types of stuff, reckless driving, carrying a firearm. And usually when you see there's been a huge past that the main person's kind of kept hidden, it means they're also keeping a pretty bad personality hidden as well. And that's pretty much what Jared has been doing. And the worst of all the things he's done is apparently when he was 17 and his cousin was 9, he R-worded her. And it's a word I cannot say or my video gets completely taken away. It is horrible to hear. What I am happy to hear about is the fact that she can still press charges even though it's 30 years ago. This happened over 30 years ago, where he, in a couple of emails that went back and forth, was found out when a Redditor going through the emails realized the person being accused was Jared and the person writing the emails was his cousin. And in these emails, I'm not going to read them verbatim. It's a lot to go through. It's a bunch of exchanges. But what was a little bit confusing, and I think where a lot of people are confused when they're hearing this story, is The age that he says he was at and what exactly is said that happens isn't properly mentioned. I think mostly because Jarrett was trying to make it look like he didn't do such a bad thing. But apparently, at one point, he R-worded his cousin while they were at their grandmother's house. He tried to say that he was only 12 years old when it happened and she was 9, so that there was only a 3-year difference. Not that that would make any difference, it's still R. But she even remarks that, no, you had a Volkswagen Beetle at the time and were able to drive on your own. So you were definitely 17. I know I can remember that because you had your own car. So this guy, nearly an adult, R words a 9-year-old girl who's related to him. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And I just recently put out a video where I said a lot of times the left and the right are destroying society in general when they go into extremes. And one person, they made, this is not a bad comment to make, they said, but sometimes you can destroy a community by making videos that call people out. And one thing I try to always do when I make these videos, when I make these call out videos, when I make these fall of videos, is I try to single out people who are taking advantage of whatever they're doing with multimedia, YouTube, music, whatever it is. And this is another situation where this guy tried to clear his name, tried to make himself look like a hero, and could have easily stalked his own fans into doing the same thing once again. And this is the main reason I try to call these videos out. I also try to balance it both with men and women, not just go after completely men or completely women YouTubers. I also try to balance it with like left-leaning and right-leaning as far as who I go after. I don't want it to seem as though I have an agenda to go after a certain, race, sex, creed, religion, code, anything. I want to call out the people who are endangering lives online. You'll notice probably 95% of the people I do call out on YouTube or try to recite what exactly their downfall was tend to have something involving injuring, harming, or putting kids in danger. And even though this woman is 30 now, I think this is a very good point to show not all of the people who pretend to be heroes on YouTube are actually heroes. In fact, I wouldn't actually trust most people on YouTube, including myself, unless I met them in person and had a conversation and built long-term relationships in which I could fully grasp their disposition. Just a reminder for you guys, the viewers, most of you I feel are very intelligent, come across as very educated and very well informed, but once in a while I know I do get some very, very young viewers. And I always want to tell you, please be careful because people like this man lurk online. And this is what he's done. He R-worded his cousin when she was only 9. He was 17. He apparently did this to other victims as well. And his father, who was high up in the Mormon church, and this is nothing against Mormons. I don't think Mormons are prone to doing such a thing. But in this case, he did try to hide what exactly Jared had done. He went to the police, and the policeman he got to look into the case is now in jail for a 56-year sentence for having child pee on his computer. And you know what I mean when I say child pee, you know what I mean. They found a bunch of P word on his computer, and so the guy supposedly looking into the case was a manipulator and a predator himself. Hence, Jared never went to jail during the time that he did this. And the Mormon church that his father was going to had no problem sweeping it under the rug by saying, he just needs to see a psychologist. We'll have him see a Mormon psychologist. And we'll schedule him to apologize to his other victims. So apparently there's other victims who have not come out yet. I think I agree with his cousin who said it's their story to tell, and when they're ready, they will come out. Hopefully they can feel the strength through her own admission of what exactly happened with Jared. Props to the sister. The only thing I will say, and this is kind of up in the air because I recently watched an interview with the sister and the cousin. Some people were reporting that the sister had put up $1 million Kickstarter to get over $1 million to pay for their legal fees, but I cannot find any source for this. And when they were interviewed, no one questioned them about that. and it seems like this may have been some kind of false rumor, but I'm still looking into that one. I'll do a follow-up if I do find out that that's true. That's a little bit odd that you would need $1 million. Look, I want this woman to get justice, and so does the state that she's in, because the actual state government, DEA, are going after exactly what Jared did. He's being processed as a criminal right now and going to be in a trial by jury to see exactly what happened and probably how many years he'll go to jail exactly. Very scary to realize people like this are online masquerading as heroes. Props to the team, to the AWP team, for calling this out ASAP. They did a very mature thing in, number one, pointing out how disgusted they are, how evil this is. They also were very forward with what they knew. In the past, all Jared had pretty much described to them was that he and his family had had a bit of a falling out, and it was something that his cousin and sister accused him of, but there was no proof behind it. And when he argued this got him thrown out of the Mormon church for a while, and so on and so on. He, of course, watered it down to, committing nothing, a big nothing burger. Oh, it was just kind of a crazy youth. You guys know how that is, right? Oh, yeah. So, first of all, it's not their duty to do a criminal background check on their boss. I don't think a lot of people go out and do that. But don't be surprised, because even the cousin herself said this. She said he will always change the story to make it fit whatever kind of new character he's trying to play. So I have a feeling that's exactly what he did with the own teammates that he was with. There's also some stories that have come out that have shown him being a little bit shady with how he treats people who work for him. He also did some TikTok videos where he was shouting out and talking trash about other search and rescue teams. And there's even been other search and rescue teams who've kind of called him out for poaching cases. So when they would go after a missing person case, he'd suddenly butt in and make his channel the head of it because he knew he would get more publicity, which the more I research this, the more that totally seems to be true. And that seems to coincide with the kind of ethics or lack of ethics that Jared has. So a very troubling case, and another disgusting predator taken off of YouTube, thank God. Be careful out there, folks. You never know who you're talking to online. And take everything with a grain of salt when you're watching these videos. With that said, let me just go into it just a little bit. Some people did have questions at the end of my last video where they're like, why didn't you cover things about trans rights? Why didn't you cover things about people on the right saying that raising your kid as trans is abuse? Why didn't you talk about racism within welfare and the police and stuff like that? These are all things that can and will be talked about in future videos if my audience wants it. And these are hot topic subjects that I feel can be covered in a more, how should I say, targeted way. I can target the exact pinpoint thing people want me to talk about. The only reason I didn't go into these subjects while I was talking about how extremes on the left and right are horrible to the community is just because I wanted to stay focused on the main thing of that video. I didn't want to go off on a tangent and start talking about trans rights and all this. Those are important things too. I agree. I think there is a lot of injustice going on as far as society is concerned in many, many facets. I am still of the belief that if I do cover those things, number one, I need to cover them from both an American perspective and from a perspective here in Japan where I live, where the traditions, views, and culture are very different. I can give you a compare and contrast of those. I feel like it's important to take in a world culture when you're delineating on subjects this complex. The only reason I did not cover this stuff, it's not because I want to ignore it. It's not because I want to toss it aside and never ever touch it. It's simply because I just didn't want to go off on a tangent. I hope you can understand that. I have nothing against trying to cover those subjects as well. I do see things that could be fixed with those. In fact, I would like to cover a video about my thoughts on trans kids and, giving them hormone blockers. My idea is a little bit more complex than what most people break it down as. And if I'm going to fully explain that, I want to have a full video targeted at only that subject. I don't want to go off on different tangents and different thoughts and different ideas within like what could be fixed in society today. I want to tackle one thing at a time. Having ADD and ADHD and dyslexia, I'm a one topic at a time guy. Otherwise, I get too distracted and go off on a tangent way too long because of how my mind wanders. I hope you all can understand that. Again, for those of you, if I upset you in any way, I'm sorry. It wasn't to upset you, it was to get you talking, and it definitely did. There was a large conversation down in the comments. And no matter what you thought of me after that, whether you hate me now or you unsubscribed or you completely have different views than me, I still thank you for taking the time to interact and go over these different topics with these and make these suggestions too. Make these suggestions of why didn't you cover this and why. I know some people were very angry that I didn't cover certain things. I hear you. I'm listening, and those things will be covered in the future. And I just hope you will stick around with me, whether you agree with everything I say or not. I look forward to your future comments. Until next time, I've been the Inksmith, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.